opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to the 2nd Platoon of Alpha Company, 5th Battalion, 3rd Basic Training Brigade. My name is Sergeant First Class Moore, and I will be your Senior Drill Sergeant. On my left is Staff Sergeant Jones. He is my Assistant Platoon Sergeant and your Drill Sergeant. Together we represent 6 years as Drill Sergeants. We specialize in taking civilians and making them into competent soldiers. We're good at our job, and you're lucky to have us. We also have 23 years in the United States Army between us, 2 of those years in combat. If you follow our example and make the most of our experience, then you will march with us on graduation day. I'd like to stress what I consider the important parts. And I like to hit them a little hard. It takes more to be a soldier than raising your right hand and taking an oath. It takes 2 things. It takes a private willing to learn and a sergeant willing to teach. And at that point, that's when you and I are going to promise them that we're going to provide the sergeants willing to teach, and they will provide the privates willing to learn, and be emphatic about it. Now, you've all taken the oath of enlistment. When you took that oath of enlistment, you promised to try and make the team. To make our team requires 2 things. You need a sergeant willing to teach and a private willing to learn. Both Staff Sergeant Jones and myself promise you right here and now that we will provide the sergeants willing to teach. What I need from you is a commitment to be the private willing to learn. Now, graduation day, successful completion of basic training, although it is an individual accomplishment, it takes teamwork, team effort. Human nature being what it is, I don't expect each and every one of you to like one another. You do not have to like one another to be a good team member. What you must do is respect one another. I demand that. You respect each other. And I will respect you, and you will respect me. There are 4 things required to be a good team member. Cooperation, yours and mine, and amongst each other. Communication, effective communication between us, you and I, and between each other. Competent team members, which I will provide, Staff Sergeant Jones and myself, and pride in ourselves as a team. Pride in being a member of the 2nd Platoon and as a soldier in the United States Army. You give me those 4 items, those 4 keys to success, and together we'll march to graduation day and through each phase of training. The basic training system we're going to undergo. After I've established everything I expect out of them as team members and members of our platoon, then I want to make sure that they understand that we're going to meet their physical and emotional needs. Then I begin to work off the checklist. The first one is sick call procedures. Now, that's complicated and lengthy. I don't expect them to remember every single thing that we put out here. You know where you're headed, McNeil?
EMC-4, Sergeant.
And once you're finished there?
Platoon headquarters, Sergeant.
No, battalion headquarters. T-Mac, sign out with the training NCO.
Battalion headquarters, Sergeant.
You know where it is?
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, come to the position of attention. Execute an about face. Move out. Next man. I don't expect them to remember every single thing that we put out here. So as far as the sick call procedures, mail procedures, procedures for pass and leave policy, all those things are on our unit bulletin board. We just give them the basic information, show them what's to be done, and reference what's on our unit bulletin board. Dining facility procedures. Why we use the meal card to account for meals. Their actions before they go into mess hall, while they're waiting in line, and their conduct while they're in the mess hall. What we want to do is make sure that they understand that we have other... What we want to do is make sure that they understand that we have other troops that have to be fed, and we have transportation schedules that have to be met. So their actions in and around the mess hall are very important for us to have a timely training schedule. The next thing I'm going to cover is mail procedures. I'll let them know that we've got the sample on the bulletin board upstairs, and that's the sample I want them to use when they send their first letter home. At that point, I'm going to let them know that I insist that each one of them writes to someone this evening. And I don't care who they write to, whether it's somebody they knew in high school or somebody who lives 3 streets over.
Suppose they don't have anyone to write to.
I want to know that too. When I talk to them for their initial counseling, one-on-one, if they don't have a letter with them, I want to know why. And that way, if the kid's an orphan or he's just running away from something, at least I'll have that information.
At this time, will you also cover incoming mail?
Yes, I'll let them know that they can begin to expect mail from home in approximately a week. And we'll let them know that we'll have mail calls for them every day except Sunday. Now, next thing I'd like to cover is off-limits area. And here we're going to have to be careful. Because of the fact that the movies, the bowling alleys, the Pointville Rec Center, all of this stuff is going to be available to them later on if they progress the way we want them to. So we want to offer it out to them as a stimulus so that they will continue to excel in training and they can utilize these facilities. Now, the next area is the telephone procedures, and that's very important to them. They want to call back home. And we want them to, too. The first chance we get, we're going to allow them to use the telephone procedures, but there are other platoons, and we have limited facilities available for their use. So we have to establish the times that they can utilize the phones and the daily routine for the phones.
You skipped over laundry and linen turn-in. Do you cover that also?
That's why I use the checklist. Yes, I do. I will cover the laundry procedures we have in a company as far as the washers and dryers are concerned. The supply sergeant is going to cover the quartermaster laundry and how to go about getting it. Now, what's next?
The next thing is pass and leave policies.
Our platoon pass policy will be posted. Emergency leave, I'm going to spend a little more time with. What I expect them to do on that first letter, on that first night going home, to notify their people back home that should a bona fide emergency exist while they're in training, that they notify their local community Red Cross who already know the procedures for them to go on emergency leave. So we'll be notified through channels, and we can get them home and on their way much sooner than. First call and lights out. First of all, they have to understand that it's a military term. First call means it's time to get up. Lights out means it's time to go to bed. That will change every day. What won't change is what we expect out of them every morning after they get up. Now, the first night when we break them down into squads, we'll go in depth as to what we want them to do in each squad and their squad responsibilities. Personal time. That's the time we expect them to polish their boots, to write their letters home, do the things that they need to do without us peeking over their shoulder. Now, we'll let them know that they'll get 1 hour of personal time every day, if possible.
Will we be able to do counseling or remedial training during this time?
Yes, we'll notify them that sometimes because of time constraints, and we have to talk to them, that we can talk to 1 or 2 individuals at a time, bring them into the office, and the rest of them can continue about their personal time. Standards for the billets. Now, here we're going to have to discuss. Now, we went over before my policies, what I expect out of the personnel, the billets, and their conduct through all phases of training. Welch, every day it's the same thing. You have the best-looking wall locker in this entire platoon.
Yes, Sergeant.
Well, that says a lot about you individually. What I want you to do is get the rest of the squad to have their wall locker looking like yours. And when you can get the rest of the squad to have their wall locker looking like yours, then I can rate you not only outstanding on your own performance, but on teamwork as well.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, you keep up the good work there, Welch, with training. If you have any heartburn or disagreements with how I want to do things, we have to discuss that now. Because once I put out the platoon policy, both of us have to be talking from one voice. The one thing that can disrupt the platoon is if I put out my policy and then you put out yours. We have to have one set idea and enforce that throughout the training cycle. Continuity on our part. Next thing, company and platoon policies on saluting, same as the Army policy.
During the platoon policies, is that when you discuss sex?
No, I usually approach it during equal opportunity.
The reason I ask is myself, I would feel really uncomfortable if I had to discuss sex with male trainees.
Well, that's understandable, but it's the same thing for me to approach you with female trainees. I found in the past the best way to approach an uncomfortable subject is to be very upfront and direct. That way, the soldiers that you're approaching understand that even though it's a difficult situation or a difficult subject, that you're not afraid to tackle it, and you're going to insist that that's how they conduct themselves. Equal opportunity in the United States Army means that each and every one of you has the same opportunity to succeed regardless of your race, creed, or sex. Now, you people are going to have to train to and meet the same training standards as your male counterparts. Now, our sexes are obviously different, but our goals remain the same. Your goal is to train to be a soldier, and my goal is to see to it that you become a competent soldier. And that means as a professional soldier, I am assuring you that I will never approach you in any way other than as a soldier. Professional ethics forbids me from doing that. And you, as a soldier, shall never approach me in any other way than as a sergeant. You understand me? You don't approach me sexual nature, and I will not approach you in a sexual nature. Now, we have to train to be a team. If you approach me in a way other than as a sergeant, then you're working against our team concept, and we will not tolerate that. Not in this platoon or in the United States Army.
Do you touch on race relations at the same time you cover equal opportunity?
Yes, and again, this is a difficult subject for some people to address. But again, it has to be discussed. So what I like to do, not only do I approach them in a direct manner, sometimes I even shock them. I'll use the ethnic slurs that they were told cannot be used, but they use themselves. And we will not tolerate it in our platoon. Everybody's cooperation is needed in barracks living. You people come from all different family backgrounds, all different walks of life. And now you're under the same roof together, and you have to get along. I will not tolerate the use of any terms such as honky, nigger, spicks, gooks, Polacks, or whatever terms you people use to describe the ethnic backgrounds out on the block. The block is behind you now. You're in the United States Army. We do not use those terms here. They undermine the feeling of trust that we must have. I expect each and every one of you, as you were, I demand from each and every one of you a level of maturity that you have not had to use in the past. Now, your generation, much more so than mine, likes to throw these terms around to show how unaffected you are by it. But to the person walking by, or that person you use the term to, may not understand it in the same manner you meant it. And it undermines our efforts in keeping above board. So what I expect out of each and every one of you is to start treating your fellow man exactly how you expect them to treat you. Does everybody understand where I'm coming from? Smoking areas, this is a real concern to those who smoke. Now, just because you and I don't smoke, we have to be conscious of the fact that habits they developed in civilian life are still important to them. So the smoking areas that we have in the company, we'll designate them. You or I will take them out the first day and show them where and when they can smoke. What we expect them to do as far as reading the bulletin board twice daily, that we have the uniform policy and the schedule for the day. The last thing they do before training that evening, check it out. Make sure there are no changes. Training schedule will be posted on a bulletin board each week. Now, this is important. I want them to understand how to read a training schedule so that in case we forget, and sometimes we will, they or one of them will have taken the initiative, look at the training schedule and say, hey, wait a minute, drill sergeant, we're supposed to have steel parts, and we had them in soft caps. If we allow them the opportunity to see that training schedule, sometimes they may save us, save a little face.
So initially you sit down with them at least once and go over the training
At
schedule?
least once a week. I try and do it on Sunday. That way they'll know throughout the training week what's going to happen, and there are no surprises. Nothing makes a private more upset than to find out at 6:30 in the morning that he's going to be on the firing range at 10 o'clock. If they find out the day before, fine. Or if they find out a couple of days before, it doesn't bother them. When they find out, or even after evening chow, that they're going to be out there firing that night and they plan on going back to make a phone call, morale goes straight to the bottom. Personal hygiene. Here's one that's a touchy subject, but it has to be addressed. For most of them, they know they have to keep clean, take a shower, and brush their teeth every day. Depending on the living standards that they were used to in civilian life, some of them, it may come as a surprise. They have to be told they must take a shower, they must brush their teeth, and they must clean up after them. And the standards we enforce in our platoon policies, they have to abide by them whether they did so in civilian life or not, because of the fact that the health of the rest of the platoon is just as important as their own. Additional duties that they'll have: fire guard, door guard, KP duty. I tell them I run a roster and that they will perform their fair share, and before they go, I will explain what's expected of them through each one of those duties.
This next point on your checklist, consequences of AWOL, how much do you stress that?
Well, I try to emphasize the fact that they all came here to succeed, and that they all came here with the idea that they were going to graduate and become soldiers. Now, if something should come up throughout the training cycle that changes their mind, that they feel they have to go, that they should have enough confidence in our ability as leaders to approach us and let us know what it is. If we can't solve the problem ourselves, we have available to us those people who are experienced in handling those type of situations, and that to trust our judgment. You know, I try and approach them to the fact that we are here to help them, and if they've got a problem, we want to know about it. If they go AWOL, then what they're doing is creating another problem and not solving the problem that they had to begin with. Open door policy. It's at that time I'll introduce the open door policy. That if they do have a problem, we are approachable. That they can come with us with a bona fide problem and we're willing to discuss it. We're people too. What I try and get through to them at this time is not to, because of time constraints, we're very busy, that if they didn't get a letter from home, there's no reason to be tying us up if somebody else has a real personal problem. So we are approachable. We will have an open door policy during personal time. If we're not counseling and they got a problem, go ahead and come to us with it. Barracks living. I have to explain at this time that it's close living quarters, a lot of pressure. They're going to have 8 to a room, some of them, and they're not used to living with that many people. What I try and emphasize is, if they're upset under a lot of pressure, that the other person is also, and they have to be aware of that, and that to try and keep in mind that they're upset with a situation that happened and not the individual that they're living with. Because tension almost always leads to fighting and undermines teamwork. To maintain teamwork, absolutely no fighting will be tolerated in our platoon. Security. They all have been issued 2 locks, or 2 locks with them. That I don't care how long they plan on leaving their locker, for 3 seconds, 3 hours, or 3 days, that I want it locked up.
Formation! Let's go. Don't get me all locked.
We don't need to provide someone the opportunity to steal something.
What kind of system do you have for, say, extra keys?
No, that's right. We want to make sure that they don't lock their wall lock with the keys in there. The first night when they come in for one-on-one counseling, they will have an envelope with them and they will put the extra key to those locks. Come in. Sergeant, Private Pierce reports. Let me see, you got something for me, Pierce? Yes, Sergeant. Stand at ease. Get your letter home. Yes, Sergeant. CD locker. Yes, Sergeant. Autobiography. Yes, Sergeant. And a general counseling form. Yes, Sergeant. Okay, it says here that you're ready, willing, and able to be the finest soldier in the United States Army. Yes, Sergeant. You have no problems that you need to talk about that will prevent you from completing training. No, Sergeant. You understand what that means? Yes, Sergeant. To some of them, they've never gone to church before in their life. But I try and emphasize that they should take advantage of it here. It gives them a break away from us. We let them know that we have church services available for all denominations. They're encouraged to attend, and it gives them an opportunity not only to get away from us, but to meet the chaplain, to listen to what he puts out on a Sunday morning, and it provides a little escapism in the initial period of training. The buddy system, if used correct, can help us throughout the training cycle, as well as the individual. We want to create an atmosphere where two individuals can develop through a very trying time of their life, both emotionally and soldier skills-wise, together, and have a supportive system for each. What we don't want to create is too much tension within that buddy system. We're going to hold them both responsible for the development of each other, but we don't want to create an atmosphere where tension develops between them.
You just assign buddies, or do they have an opportunity to
No, I don't want to do that.
someone?
I assign them, and that way they have to adjust to an individual just as the other individual has to adjust to them. Establish the feeling of camaraderie. And I emphasize that Opportune makes the most of this, and that this system supports everybody, that we're not going to make it unless we go out there as a team, and that everybody pitches in so that they all have a feeling of belonging. We want to make sure that when they go to bed at that first night, that they're excited about the training the next day, and they're secure in their confidence in us. Once I'm sure they understand Opportune policies as far as the buddy system is concerned, I'll explain that I'd like them to make out for me that evening an autobiography, to explain to me where they came from, what kind of a family life they had, their reasons for joining the Army, how far they went in school, and their general interests.
Why do you want that?
Well, we have to get to know them so well in such a short period of time. It provides me with a little background information that I otherwise wouldn't have. And later on in counseling, it could come into play.
In spite of all your efforts, the initial counseling and all the information you put out in the briefing, don't you ever just have that one soldier who just can't cope?
Sure, but in the initial in-briefing, I emphasize that for a trainee discharge, it's the Army's call and not the individual's.
What kind of information do you tell the troops about the trainee discharge program?
Well, I usually like to approach it in this manner. Should you fail to meet the standards, the Army has a qualitative management program titled the Trainee Discharge Program. This allows us to eliminate from the ranks those few individuals who are either unable or unwilling to conform to the training standards that are required here. Now, that's the Army's call and not yours. You people all enlisted in the United States Army for different reasons, and at some point in your training, you may fail to remember the important reasons that motivated you to enlist in the first place. There are going to be times when you're going to be discouraged, tired, lonely, homesick. That's all natural. We know that. That's why we don't allow you to say when you'll quit. We're not going to allow you to make a decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life in a moment of despair. You all joined the Army, and you came here to succeed. And we want you to succeed. And we're going to give you all the help you need to see that you succeed. It's a quality Army, and we need good soldiers. And that's why we're going to do everything we can to see that you people make it. I notice you've been writing notes to yourself all day. Hang on to these notes for next cycle, because you're going to need them. And tomorrow, make sure you begin your third checklist, and that's the actions you take throughout the training cycle.
Okay, clarify for me now. The first list is
How to prepare the billets.
how to prepare the billets, what you do prior to pickup. And the second list is the in-briefing. And the third list is going to be what?
Everything you do throughout the training cycle. You'll find that a long piece of paper and a short pencil will serve you much better in this job than a good memory. There's too much to remember. That's why I keep a list of every mistake I ever made, and as well as the things that I did right. It's a diary just for my eyes only. And that's why mine's so thick, because of the mistakes I made in the past. For instance, my first cycle, I told a young soldier, I want the billets buffed. I came back, it wasn't up to standard. And when he told me that he didn't know how to operate the buffer, I knew who made the mistake. We assumed nothing. Now I demonstrate exactly how to operate the buffer. Cleaning the latrine, how to get down there and clean out the commode. Making the bunks, I demonstrate to them. And that's why we're going to do it starting tomorrow evening. Everything we want them to do to Army standards, we can't take it for granted that they know how to do it. We have to demonstrate by our example how it's got to be done. Somebody to keep the cord out of the way. Start it up. Use a slow circular motion till you get a high glass on the floor. Toward you, away from you, and moves the buffer. Any questions?
Yes, Sergeant.
Now, make sure you change the water before you even begin. And use plenty of... Get it on the top also. Hold it down over. All right, from there, I would ask them if they had any questions if we had time. If they didn't have any questions, then we'd go ahead and exit from there. What about you?
I only have a couple of questions. Back when you covered security, you failed to mention weapons.
I mentioned it briefly in the in-briefing, but I really emphasize it when we have them fill out their weapons card. At that time, they're responsible for it. And anywhere they go on this military installation with that weapon, they must have a cadre member with them.
My other question was that you didn't cover the misuse of drugs and alcohol.
The only thing I'll mention to them in the in-briefing is from here on in, the only drugs they're allowed to take are those that are prescribed by an Army doctor. Alcohol can only be consumed if they're on pass. Now, they're going to receive a class in the first 2 weeks of training on drug and alcohol abuse. And I'll re-emphasize the point prior to their first pass on what I expect out of each and every one of them while they're in uniform, their conduct, even if they have had some beer.
That's all the questions I have.
Well, let me ask you this. You feel comfortable about picking up troops tomorrow?
I think so.
What about your greens? Are they ready?
They're not really yet, but I'll get them squared away tonight.
Well, why don't you take the rest of the day to make sure that they're ready to go?
Okay, for tomorrow morning, then, will I meet you here and we'll go down to the reception station together?
Sure. We'll make sure that we have everything.
Well, I feel that today's going to be quite an eventful day anyway.
I can guarantee.
At the reception station, wear your Class A uniform and look sharp. A first impression is a lasting impression.
Nervous or excited?
Oh, a little bit of both, I think.
That's understandable. Because we're going to be working so closely together throughout the cycle, and you're going to get the opportunity to observe me every day, I'd like you to take this opportunity to watch how some of the other drill sergeants pick up their troops, especially Campbell and Cooley. Cooley establishes rapport with his troops right off the bat. Now, his style wouldn't work for me, but you may be able to pick up a few pointers there yourself. Some of the other things I'd like you to observe today is look for somebody who's grossly overweight or if they're limping badly. We need to know that and check on their medical situation right away.
What about somebody that appears to have an attitude problem?
You're right when you said appears to have a bad attitude. At this stage of the game, don't put too much weight on it. Of course, you're going to correct it, but they are afraid. They don't want their peers to know, and they definitely don't want us to know because of their pride. What we want to make sure is that if it is indeed a bad attitude, it will surface again later on in training. If it's not a bad attitude, we didn't make the mistake to prejudge an individual and lose him by judging him too harshly right off the bat.
So what you're saying basically is don't stereotype.
Exactly. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go, Super Drill.
Last people ship will be males going to Charlie 4-3. Q1, Q2.
Maintain unit segregation and control. There are usually 2 or more units receiving troops at a time.
Q14, Q7.
Ensure each individual has all of his or her personal clothing and Army-issued equipment prior to leaving the reception station.
Doc tags inside your jacket.
Actions upon arrival in the company area. Separate soldiers into platoons and move them into shakedown areas. Issue earplug cases, color-coded to indicate platoon. Inform the new soldiers of their platoon and company designation. Introduce yourself and your assistant. Earlier, we displayed all of the forms that will be used on day 1 in the wall locker. This drill sergeant has all day 1 forms in a packet, and upon its completion can be turned in and be the start of the personal file for that soldier.
First thing I would like for you to do is open the folder in front of you. And once you have the folder open, all right, take the sheet of paper out that has on the top of it civilian property inventory.
Inventory civilian clothing and secure it in a baggage room. When time permits, inventory military clothing using DA Form 3078 and make a shortage list. This can be done when demonstrating how a wall locker is displayed while the soldiers are following along. Establish a schedule for initial in-processing. However, ensure your schedule does not conflict with company or battalion schedule. Don't start anything unless you are sure you'll have enough time to finish.
First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to the 2nd Platoon of Charlie Company, 4th Battalion, 3rd Basic Training Brigade. My name is Sergeant First Class Moore, and I will be your senior drill sergeant. On my left is Sergeant Ashley.
Your company or platoon will function as well as you make it. Therefore, prior planning and aggressive implementation of your plan and continued checks should keep your unit in good shape. The subject material you have seen is a guide to assist you in planning. It is not all-encompassing and is in no way meant to stifle initiative, but rather to assist you in your week-to-week planning.